Should I just go whatever?
Yep.
Okay, I did mine. I'm Roxanne, by the way. I did mine on how the media portrays women in a negatively way, and it affects them like through body image in a negative way. The first way it affects them is through like advertisements. It portrays them like before like women are being used not only for products that women are supposed to be using, but also for men, because now women are models in advertising are very common. The models are shown are always the same like specific type, which is always beautiful, slim, and sexy. The use of female models in advertisements initially limited only to alcohol products and adult toys, but nowadays can be found that almost all products use female models for even products that do not relate to women's needs. Starting from a razor ad, electronic instruments, aftershave to car shampoo wearing women models. If you try to compare the number of ads that male models to women models, it can be 1/10 of the amount. Even for products that the target consumer is males, obviously women are still being used. The biggest consumer for internet users were men. Many of us have encountered advertisements with female models with seductive and provocative poses, and the product is successful in the marketplace. It is difficult to assess why it can take effectively. It is because their products or because its models poses and looks at it is, which makes it a successful ad. Obsession that is how is the same appearance as to those who would be an advertising model, because the image is generated that the advertising model is an attractive woman and favored by men. They're favored that thin is in. You're never going to see, or not never, but obviously you never hardly ever see a model who is more, not overweight, but more thicker than somebody else, which is an average woman, but they make thin become the average woman, which is not necessarily easy for an average woman to obtain that body. They're saying that 20 years ago, from the Media Network Awareness website, which I got this information from, that 20 years ago the average model weighed 8% less than the average woman. But today's models weigh 23% less than the average woman. Advertisers believe that the thin model sells products. As you can see in the sexual way, that all the Carl's Jr. commercials where all the women are like in like bathing suits or a couple cars like eating like the $6 burger or whatever, that's another way that the media negatively portrays women. A media activist, Jen Kilborn, concluded that women are sold to the diet industry by the magazines we read and the television programs we watch, almost all of which make us feel anxious about our weight. Another way that the media portrays women, or not media, but like affects our body image is that they create an unrealistic body image for women that obviously is not easy to attain. In 2003, Teen Magazine reported that 35% of girls 6 to 12 years old have been on at least one diet, and that 50 to 70% of normal weight girls believe that they are overweight. So again, we are starting this at a very young age, starting this through magazines, and that 9% of women are dissatisfied with their appearance in some way. By always having advertisements on magazines, which has some type of diet or remedy of always trying to make you feel more attractive, it's a constant reminder to women to try to obtain that thin model body. Another thing that I found on I think it was the Media Network Awareness Center, was that researchers generated a computer model of a woman with the Barbie doll proportions, for example, found that her back would be too weak to support the weight of her upper body, and that her body would be too narrow to contain more than half of a liver and even a few centimeters of a bowel. A real woman built that way would suffer from chronic diarrhea and eventually die from malnutrition. And then they're saying that 99% of girls ages 3 to 10 own at least one Barbie doll. So again, they're starting this at a very young age, saying that this is how you have to be, but again, it's not realistic. They would have all these health issues. In 2006, it was estimated that up to 450,000 Canadian women were affected by eating disorders due to some of these advertisements in magazines and television shows and advertisements. And then television and movies reinforce the importance of a thin body as a measure of women's worth. Canadian research George Valp reports that over 3/4 of the female characters in TV situation comedies are underweight and only 1 in 20 are above average in size. Heavier actresses tend to receive negative comments from the male characters about their bodies, and 80% of these negative comments are followed by a canned audience laughter. So again, an average woman isn't really taken seriously, nor are they taken into consideration of being like the lead role. So obviously, again, they're making us say that we have to be thin in order to be successful. It also creates an unhealthy lifestyle by they're saying women who are insecure about their bodies are most likely to buy beauty products, new clothes, and diet ads. Regarding AIDS, it's estimated that the diet industry alone is worth anywhere between $40 to $100 billion a year, selling temporary weight loss products. On the other hand, researchers indicate that exposure to images of thin, young, airbrushed female models is linked to depression, loss of self-esteem, and the development of unhealthy eating habits in women and girls. Researchers also report that women's magazines have 10 and 1.5 times more ads and articles promoting weight loss than men's magazines do, and over 3/4 of the covers of women's magazines include at least one message about how to change a woman's bodily appearance by diet, exercise, and cosmetic surgery. So overall, the media is affecting women through their body image and how successful they are, and that's about it. I have no time.
All right, Roxanne, from the beginning we know kind of what the topic area is, but I'm still not sure what the proposition is. You've got so many secondary points that you present during the speech that I think we just get lost a little bit in the subject without knowing what the argument's about. And that's one of the reasons that it's important to set that up at the beginning of the presentation. And I didn't really get a sense of that. There's not really a preview of what the structure is going to be, and I started getting lost immediately. Now, during the course of the speech, you did start to organize things. You did have a couple of places where it sounded like you're making a transition. Here's another idea. You don't have any numerical signposts for those points, but they do sound a little bit more distinct. But it takes you about 3 minutes to start labeling those kinds of things. So you want to be sharper from the very beginning, setting up the organizational structure. Again, I thought that you did a better job on the second half of the speech citing your information. It got consistently better than what you had in the first part of the speech. I think you do a pretty good job establishing that women are used in the media. I'm not sure there's a lot of controversy about that. The controversy is whether or not it has a negative impact, and I think that's where you need a lot more information. The closest that you come to something that is in any way quantifiable is this Canadian study that apparently claims that a certain number of women have eating disorders as a result of stuff that's going on in the media. And that's a good statistic that connects that point together, although I think we need to have a little bit more explanation about how they reached that conclusion, because that's a very startling number. One of the dilemmas that's always set up here is this image. You're talking about how this is the image and so on and so forth, and then, of course, society goes the opposite direction. Maybe the reason we're getting all this stuff about diet and everything is because we're all so obese, and I thought that was the problem. And this seems to be suggesting that the problem is that we, should be living with our obesity. There's some issue that needs to be balanced between these 2 points of view, and I'm not exactly